Whether it's the bruise on his hand or swollen ankles, President Trump's health has come under quite a bit of scrutiny during his second term. But as Ben Terris writes for New York Magazine, those close to Trump are quite simply amazed by his energy, which they describe at times as nearly superhuman. In fact, the article has a title, Superhuman. Here's my conversation with Ben. Ben, great to see you. You sought to ascertain the truth about President Trump's health. That's not really easy to do, is it?
No, it's very difficult to ascertain the truth about President Trump at all. But I think in reporting about his health, I was able to ascertain some truth about the way that he does his job, the way that he runs this country, the way that the government is run.
You thought you would be blocked or at least get some pushback. They brought you right in.
Yeah, it was surprising to me how much access I got. I got to go to the Oval Office and talk to the president and his team of doctors. I talked to a lot of his inner circle, his top staff, a cabinet secretary. I was surprised, but ultimately, President Trump wants to talk about this issue. He wants people to think that he's the healthiest president in the world and feels like he might be his best advocate for that. He also knows that his staff and his inner circle are going to talk very highly about him. He almost, I feel like, likes to have people go out and just praise him to the press, and so I got to benefit from that.
And when you went into the Oval and the doctors were there, you saw something on the paperwork in front of them. What did you see?
Yeah. First of all, I was surprised they were there at all. I did not expect the doctors to be there. They were standing next to a Christmas tree. It was, late December. It was just two men. I didn't know who they were, and they were each holding a piece of paper that on the top of the paper said talking points. And so they had things they wanted to get through.
Mm-hmm. Did they recite those talking points to you in any sort of formal way?
I mean, there were moments where they were looking at those pieces of paper. They were asked questions by me and also by Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary who was there. And it felt like, I don't know, it was a little practiced.
A little choreographed, a little rehearsed, possibly.
Yeah, that's right.
The headline, Superhuman President, that comes from someone close to the president. It probably carries within New York Magazine a hint of irony, but it revealed something to you about not just what is or isn't true about President Trump's health, but the way the government, at least those closest to him, think and talk about him.
That's right. So that quote came from Stephen Miller, one of the top aides to President Trump. He told me if I was going to be serious and accurate in my reporting, that the only
meaning if you were,
if I was, the only fair headline would be that he's a superhuman president, that he can outwork and outlast his young staff, that he has powers that no mortals have, I believe is what Stephen Miller told me. And this was, one of many conversations that went this way. I've described it to people as kind of feeling like I was sitting through a series of plays that were put on just for me by Trump's inner circle. Everybody there had a bit part to play, and their role was basically to talk up the president, to make him sound like he was more powerful than any mortal they'd ever worked for before. And it really kind of showed the way that Trump maintains control over his team.
Had a kind of North Korean feel to you.
Yeah, a lot of dear leader
phraseology and like this larger than life presence.
That's right.
Living amongst us. Okay. Things are talked about this president on social media. Swollen ankles, bruising on his hand, and what people have witnessed with their own eyes, occasional nodding off. Address those.
So the swollen cankles, as they've been referred to me and others.
Sure, the president loves that.
He loves to have people talking about his cankles, for sure. That's a result of a circulatory issue. They've been pretty upfront about that. I think they had to be after people saw with their own eyes that the president's ankles were swollen. I mean, you could really see it. It was like the Michelin Man. Basically, he needs to walk more to keep that under control. In my reporting, somebody told me that after he was told that walking more would help, he asked if there was anything else he could do instead.
Instead of walking.
Instead of walking, which seems like a pretty low bar, but he's very anti-exercise. He's told people in the past that he believes the human body is like a battery. It has a finite amount of energy.
Right.
Walking, I don't know, gets rid of some of that energy, and he wants to keep it.
Right. Don't unnecessarily deplete those batteries.
That's right. He does play golf, but he takes the cart. The bruising on his hand, according to him and his doctors, has a lot to do with the fact that he takes way too much aspirin. He says he wants thin blood at his age, not thick blood, thin blood. And because he takes all this aspirin...
To thin his blood.
To thin his blood, he bruises easily. He also shakes a lot of hands. He told me oftentimes with big, burly men with sausage-like fingers and tears in their eyes who just want to thank him and grab his hand like putting it through a meat grinder. That combination causes lots of bruising. There are also cuts sometimes on the back of his hand that he said comes from women's fingernails when they're shaking his hand, sometimes from women's rings.
I mean, that would suggest his skin is a little thinnish.
He has thin skin. That's right.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
Rhetorically and otherwise.
That's right. That's right. As for the nodding off, he claims that he's just bored as hell. Sometimes he's in these meetings and people are talking for too long. He needs to close his eyes just to relax. I heard it described to me. Caroline Levitt said it's his active listening face. Marco Rubio said it was a listening mechanism. I mean, believe what you want. It looked to me like he was dozing off, but maybe that's what his active listening face is.
Well, the Trump presidency will leave this country with many things. Perhaps active listening face will be one of the phrases we will associate with it.
That's right.
Maybe others. Yet, very recently, the president was on stage with Nicki Minaj, who has enormous fingernails, clasping her hand, and those fingernails right over his hand. Looked kind of dangerous to me.
That's a good point. You'd think if he'd had past incidents, maybe he'd look at those fingernails and say, this is a hand I'm not going to hold.
So it varies. You can listen to my full conversation with the great Ben Terris on your favorite podcast platform.